today I'm going to be showing you how to change the EGR valve on your Grand Am. Now this will work for other General Motors 3.4, but I'm using this 04 Grand Am behind me as an example. Now the EGR is your exhaust gas recirculation. Some people call it exhaust gas return. Either way, it is actually sending some of the exhaust gas through the valve and into the intake manifold to be burned off again. Now this is partly for emissions, as well as they say it's supposed to be more efficient. But the EGR valve, if it's stuck open or you get a failing one, you'll have a rough idle, which is the most common symptom, and sometimes from higher speeds when you come to a stop it'll actually die due to the excessive amount of exhaust and all that. But now the one on this car I don't think has ever been changed. I'm pretty sure it is 100% original to the car, and it has over 200,000 miles on it. So I found one pretty cheap locally, and I'm gonna go ahead and change it. Now as you can see, here it is. I have a harness here, 2 bolts here holding it to the intake, and 1 bolt holding the tube in from the exhaust. So should be fairly simple, and it's actually on top, so it's easy to get to. So you can do this yourself in your driveway, fix it yourself, save you some money. So let's just get to it. Now here it is, intake or master cylinder, EGR valve. You can see there's a bolt there for the tube. There's one there, and there is one down there, if you can see that. But there it is. Now we'll have to remove this clip first to get it out of the way. And what we'll do, now we'll take the 10mm and see if we can get that first one off. Now as long as this one's been on here, it's going to take a bit. Now you may have to tap your ratchet or your wrench with a hammer, kind of knock it loose. But once it comes loose, you know, most part that's pretty easy. Alright, set that off to the side so we don't lose it. Once you get them loose enough, probably just take your extension with a socket on it and just work them out that way. that loose. We can wiggle, and there it is. Alright, now comes the fun of all putting it back together. So what I'm going to do is start here. So I'm going to take this, put a bolt in, the other one in, and I'm going to attempt to get these gaskets, this gasket starting to bolt, as you can see, to hold the gasket in place right where I need it. Give it a little bit, and there. Now I'm going to slide this on in, get the tube started in the back, which is pretty easy. Line the two bolts up. So I'm sticking out a little bit like that. That was actually pretty easy. It's holding itself, and a couple threads started. Once you get them started enough, then we can just go ahead and tighten these two down. And make sure to get them nice and tight, but not too tight because we are threading into aluminum. Now if you get some anti-seize laying around, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and put that on. And since we were fighting the gasket, you can actually put a little bit of that anti-seize over the holes, which I didn't show. But since we're going through that gasket, the way that gasket is set up, a lot of times it will just take the anti-seize and it'll be around the gasket instead of through the threads. So dabbing it on the bolt holes is probably the easier way to do that. If you can take like something like a thin paintbrush and dab it inside and through the threads. Same thing with the back side of the EGR on that one bolt. Alright, now they're starting to get tight. So we'll go back and forth, snugging one down, snug the other one down, until they're both pretty well equally tight. And then go over them just a little bit more and make sure that gasket seals and they're good and tight. And again, remember, we are going into aluminum, and you don't want to strip that out. So just be careful there. Alright. And last but not least, do not forget the tube back here. You're going to spin that little bracket up, line it up to the hole in the back of the valve. We're going to snug it up by hand the best we can. And try to wiggle that tube just a little bit and make sure it gets in there where it needs to be. And then tighten it down as well. Because we do not want any exhaust leaks, because not only will it affect the way it runs, but an exhaust leak there will create heat around here, and we do not want that. And of course, plug the harness in, and that's it. Alright, now there it is. It's installed. Pretty quick, simple, easy, straightforward. There's no reason why, for the most part, anyone can't do that on their own. 3 bolts, wiring harness, done. Do it in your driveway, under your carport, in your garage, whatever. But no need to pay an expensive shop to fix that. Pretty simple, straightforward. And for the most part, all your local auto parts stores should, well, at least one of them should at least have one somewhere in stock. So there it is. Now I hope you enjoyed this information and it proved helpful to you. As always, thanks for watching.